Coming up on this week's episode, we look back at the weekend's FA Cup games and see who put their place in the final. Should Nigel Pearson have been sacked from Watford? And is there a resurgence at Arsenal? Liam is here with another story from his archives, whilst I have some interesting stats in the wonders of white. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to episode 27 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Liam is here as always. Hello, Liam.
Evening, Chris. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, very good, especially after yesterday.
Yeah, what a win.
Yeah, it was a surprise, but we are going to talk a bit more about that in the talking points. Well, I guess you've got a teaser for this week.
I do, and I think the last few weeks I've been taking it a little bit easy on you. You've been doing a little bit too well, so I'm making things a little bit more difficult this week. So, what I want you to do is we're going back to a few weeks ago. I want you to put the following players in order of Premier League assists. Right. So I hope you've got a pen and paper.
I've got a laptop, so yeah, here we go. Assists,
okay, so in order of the number of assists they've had in the Premier League, so you've got Dennis Bergkamp, you've got Cesc Fabregas. I thought the Chelsea connection there. Ryan Giggs, Frank Lampard, and Wayne Rooney. So I saw that list and I thought, well, there's two Chelsea players in there, so we might have an idea about them.
Yeah.
Have a think throughout the podcast.
I know sort of Lampard's, so it's just trying to figure out the rest. Okay, I'll have a think whilst we're doing it. That's a difficult one.
Trickier this week.
Be a red herring in there somewhere. We'll see. But we'll move on now to the talking points from this week. Firstly, we're going to talk about the two FA Cup games that happened on Saturday and Sunday this week. So we had Arsenal versus Man City on Saturday, and then the Man United Chelsea game yesterday. So we'll start with, I suppose, quite a shock, really, for most people. Arsenal beating Manchester City by 2-0.
Yeah, massive shock. I definitely didn't see that result coming. Obviously, Arsenal had a good win in the week against Liverpool, but I just thought, I mean, how well Man City have been playing over the last few weeks. I never saw that performance coming from Arsenal, especially not David Luiz.
I said,
what an enigma.
I messaged you yesterday and I said they've made him look like Maldini this week. I was quite shocked at how. I wouldn't say Man City played poorly. I'd say, in parts of the game they were actually quite good. They just really struggled to create any sort of clear-cut chance. And with Man City, I find when Sterling and De Bruyne aren't sort of firing on all cylinders, their build-up play can be quite slow, and it just doesn't flow as well when those two aren't playing, or if they're effectively being played out of the game. But yeah, I was completely shocked. I didn't really. I've seen the highlights from the game. I didn't watch the game live, but definitely when I looked down at my phone on Saturday night to see that it ended 2-0, I was surprised. And Aubameyang, two well taken goals, really.
Two good finishes.
Yeah. And he had a really good chance as well at 0-0.
Yeah.
He was almost through on goal. He literally anywhere else at the goal, and he probably would have scored, but he hit it right down the centre, right at the keeper. But yeah, as from a Chelsea point of view, just move on to that game quickly. Obviously, with us winning yesterday, out of the other three teams that were there. Arsenal definitely the team I would like to play in the final. So we beat them in the Europa League final last season 4-1. So probably different sort of Arsenal side to play now. But just moving on to Chelsea, best I've seen them probably since we restarted. I thought we pressured Manchester United into making quick passes that they weren't, keen on. Jorginho did a really good job of isolating Fernandes.
He did a very, very good job.
Pretty much like their one player that was going to create anything. He was pretty much played out of the game by Jorginho.
He was my man of the match.
Yeah,
I know he didn't get on the score sheet or anything. He didn't take many headlines, but yeah, he kept Fernandes so quiet. And I know that Pogba wasn't playing. I know there was a few probably of the more formed players that were on the bench for United, but it was by no means a weak squad. No. But I think genuinely, you made them look ordinary, I think, this weekend, and highlighted quite a few defensive fragilities that I think we all knew they had, but have sort of been papered over the last few weeks, especially with the De Gea mistakes.
Yeah,
I'd be looking at saving both of them. I'd be a bit disappointed at letting both, the Giroud goal and the Mount goal in.
The Mount goal, especially.
Even Rudiger's was at the near post, and you think, well, it was a more difficult one to save, but yeah, the other two, it was almost with the Giroud one. It was almost as if he'd saved it, but because he sort of patted the ball down, it just hit his foot and went in. It was almost an own goal. Because it looked like if his foot's not there, I don't think that goes in. I think he's punched it down onto his own foot. But yeah, great. It was a good all-round performance from Chelsea. I mean, you didn't really give them a sniff, to be honest.
No, it is. I felt that we were so much more effective when we played that sort of three at the back with the two wing backs, and I think Solskjaer knew that that's how we'd probably play, and they tried to set up in the same way, but it didn't work for them. I'm not sure why. And it was very strange that he made the changes that he did going into the game as well, starting Daniel James. I thought that was a bit of a strange one. And Fred as well. I would have thought you'd be probably starting your best team.
It's sort of implied that he was going to sit back and let soak up some pressure and then just try and hit you on the counter-attack with some pace. But the formation that you play and the players that you play, you're not really lacking in pace.
No.
No, definitely not on the wing. I mean, maybe Azpilicueta's getting a bit old, but apart from that, you're not a slow team. And I just thought it was an unusual way to start, considering how effective the three up front has been. I personally, as a manager, I would want to keep those in form playing. Try and keep that form going, but maybe I don't know. Maybe he just thought it's too much. There's a lot of games over the last few weeks, and maybe they're a bit tired. I don't know, but yeah, it did seem a little bit strange. But all round performance from you guys, I thought was excellent, and defensively didn't give them a chance. I thought you bossed them in midfield. Fernandes was made to look very ordinary, which is not an easy thing to do by the looks of things, and lethal up front, albeit with the help from slightly, a few errors from De Gea there, which has been consistent over the last few years. One thing I did think: do you think Henderson should come back from Sheffield and start next year? Do you think De Gea's time is up?
I don't know. I saw somewhere today that some computer machine works out how many sort of goals a keeper should concede in like a season, depending on their form and stuff. It nailed it straight on of how many goals he would have conceded in the season so far. So I don't know. Who are you going to sell him to though? If you want to get rid of him, I don't think Real Madrid and Barcelona are currently looking for goalkeepers, and sort of Liverpool aren't going to be looking for another goalkeeper, and I can't imagine that Man United would want to sell to Chelsea or Arsenal, sort of their rivals in the league. So I'm not too sure, but I think they will bring Henderson back. Maybe just to keep De Gea on his toes, maybe a little bit.
I think this year that, personally for me, Henderson, if the Euros had been played this year, I think he should have been our number one keeper.
Yeah.
I think he's been that good. I think he deserves to get a chance at United. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, I don't know who they'd sell him to. I don't know any of the main clubs. Even going back to Atletico, they wouldn't want him anymore because they've got Oblak in goal. The only team I can think of is maybe like an Inter Milan, where all United players seem to be going at the minute.
Yeah, even they've got Handanovic, and he's
he's getting on a little bit, I suppose. But yeah, they probably won't. They would. It's not a necessity, unless Juventus think Buffon is. I know he signed a contract extension, but he is 40 odd. Maybe Juventus or Munich maybe thinking Neuer's getting a bit old or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah,
but it depends. It's going to come down to money, and at the end of the day,
it is. Yeah, he's going to be an expensive keeper.
Man United are going to want top dollar for him, but whether he's a top dollar goalkeeper, I don't know. But yeah. Well, we'll move on to one of the surprising sackings of this season, maybe in Nigel Pearson. A very, very strange. I know that they lost to West Ham, and I know that they probably saw that as a must-win game. But with 2 games to go to the season completion, it seems like a very, very odd decision to do that. And I didn't see it coming, to be honest with you.
No, complete surprise. Of all the teams at the bottom, I didn't. Watford were the one I would least expect because I've had 2 changes already this season. You just keep that. I mean, he was 7 points adrift, I think, when he took over. He's now 3 points clear with 2 games to go. I mean,
when they
it makes just 2 more games. Just keep him for 2 more games. He's probably going to see his safe. It just doesn't make any sense.
He had a 35% win rate in the Premier League at Watford, which is the best ever for a manager of Watford. So the Premier League. So it just seems very strange.
What do they expect? What were Watford's board? What were they expecting him to do from where he took them over? Were they expecting him to still finish top half? I mean, I don't.
They've been a lot.
I don't get it. I was genuinely
speechless.
So, They have. They really have.
But I see they got Man City tomorrow, and you could actually go above them tomorrow because I've heard that their last 2 games against Man City have ended 6-0 and 8-0. So you could go above them on goal difference tomorrow. But I really think if they end up going down, I think they're going to regret, because Nigel Pearson would be a brilliant manager for the Championship as well. So it just something just doesn't seem to sort of add up. No. And I know I've seen a lot of comments on Twitter from sort of football pundits saying, they're quite shocked in the fact that, they've sacked him. And so I saw Gary Lineker say that, that's the gratitude that you get for getting a team out of, the bottom 3 and potentially safe, you get sacked. It's just very, very strange.
But Leicester did the same thing and won the league. He kept them up. An absolute miracle in keeping them up, and then got sacked.
So, I see what you're saying, and I think if anything, he's probably come up better for this. I think that he'll probably be able to get a half decent job.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're looking at maybe Christmas this year, whoever's struggling in the Premier League, potentially if West Ham are down there again or someone like that, he will be in the draw for one of those one of those jobs. I would say the first person to get sacked with a team in the bottom half, fearing relegation, he'll be in with a shout of taking over. I think he steadied the ship at Watford. I mean, I saw them in, I think, what was Flores' last game at Southampton. They clearly have some good quality players. I mean, De La Feu, we all know, he's got trickery, and I can't remember the name of the guy up front. They bought him in over summer. But Sarr, that's it. He lots of pace, lots of power. He scored a good goal that day. But they just, as soon as Southampton scored, the confidence just drained from them. And it was like a different team. And they just did. They thought it was inevitable Southampton were going to go and win, and they sat back. since Pearson has took over, the desire and the willingness from all the players they seem to be totally different. And to bring something like that, it's not just about your tactics or anything like that. It's just to bring that confidence to say that we actually can go out and win games. Just because we've conceded doesn't mean that we're going to lose. I think that's been a lot of Villa's problem this year as well, personally. I think as soon as we concede, we think, well, that's it, it's game over. But yeah, to be able to bring that sort of attitude, I think he's done a wonderful job. I really don't understand why he's been sacked at this point. If they'd have done it 6 games ago, 7 games ago, with them still in trouble,
Yeah.
I could kind of reason with it because someone's got a chance to come in and turn it round. But to basically, I mean, they're going to end the season managerless, aren't they? The last 2 games, they're not going to have time to get anyone in. So.
This is good news for you, though. I think.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking at it thinking this is brilliant.
Yeah. This is the 3rd time on this podcast this season I've spoken about a Watford manager getting sacked.
Yeah.
This is insane. But we'll move on now because we did want to talk about. I know we spoke a little bit about Arsenal just earlier, but just a sort of resurgence in the last sort of week that we've seen from them. 2 games. I think a week ago we probably would have said that they weren't going to get. I know one was in the league, one was in the FA Cup. They wouldn't have won in the league, and they weren't going to get through in the FA Cup. But we're sat here now, and they've done both. They won. They beat Liverpool. And defensively, they look so good, and it's just so strange how we've gone from David Luiz, 3-4 weeks ago, getting sent off, making countless errors, to him putting in the performances that we've seen in the last 2 weeks. And I've just looking back sort of since Arteta has taken over. So before he took over, they conceded 26 goals, and they've conceded 19 since he took over, in less games as well. So in more games than what the previous manager did. So defensively, actually, since he's taken over, I know we've seen a few errors. They have actually improved.
Yeah.
And I think another player that he was injured for most of this season, but Tierney, I think is going to be key to that sort of back 4. He looks like I know he was injured. He's been injured for quite a long time, but he definitely looks like that someone that moving forward can be, one hell of a defender.
Yeah, and he's still young as well. And I think, they've got a good left back there. They would have obviously liked him to have stayed injury-free. But one thing I did, when Arsenal previously, I think they had a sort of a set way of playing. Obviously, Wenger had a certain style of football, and they try to keep it up. And, it's quick tempo, short passing, always try and score the perfect goal almost. But I think football's moved on a little bit from that. And looking at the Arsenal side that played Man City, I know Arteta knows Guardiola's tactics, but he played it so perfectly to say, we're going to get people behind the ball, but not just a case of throwing numbers behind the ball. They're all going to have set jobs to do. They're all going to have people to mark. He matched them up perfectly, and you always know when you've got Aubameyang up front, he's got pace. You could potentially get a goal on the counter-attack. And because Man City sat quite high up the pitch, especially in the second half when they're pushing for an equaliser, it just played right into their hands. I've got to credit Arteta because he absolutely nailed it. He got it absolutely spot on. The Liverpool game, I didn't watch that one at the time. I've only sort of seen the highlights of that one, and you could say that maybe Liverpool are on the beach or whatever, but they're still a quality side. It doesn't matter whether their mentality is, we're on holiday, we've already won the league. They've still got players that if you make a mistake, they're going to score, and they've really solidified at the back. And I think, like you said, David Luiz was made to look like Maldini, but it's like he's got a twin brother.
Crazy,
he's just so erratic.
Yeah.
I've never known a player be just so different from one week to the next. But yeah, it's positive signs because, I mean, all they've got to do is build on for next year. I know they're still in the cup final now, but they've just got to build for next year, and it's promising signs. With the transfer window, who knows what they could do?
Yeah, I still think that they will probably look to buy a defender or two, maybe in the summer.
Yeah,
Um,
they do need to
and maybe a
strengthen still.
midfielder. But I still think going forward, I think Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Pepe, they could be the best front three in the Premier League.
Yeah, Pepe started
But
putting in a few performances. He had a
he
bit of a
played well
shaky start,
against
but
he played well
he
against Man
played well in the
City.
cup. Yeah, I
Yeah, he
thought he
did
had a
play
really
well.
good game.
Probably one of the best. Well, from an Arsenal point of view, probably one of the best games he's actually had. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, hopefully after the cup final, we're not talking about Arsenal having a good game. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I know you'll be wanting a Chelsea win there, but
yeah,
yeah, it'll be. I think they'll give you a good game now. I think if
yeah.
this time last week I would have said, oh, that's going to easily be a Chelsea win, but yeah, if Arteta continues to get things right and they can stay mistake free at the back, then who knows what can happen. That is always the thing, isn't it? When your defence is conceding mistakes that are like individual errors, you know that as long as you can cut out that or two individual errors, you've actually
Yeah,
got the rest of the package sorted up.
it's fine. Yeah,
So all you need to do is just be a bit more sensible with not passing to opponents and all that kind of stuff, and you've got a decent defence there already for you.
great, cool. Okay, so yeah, that was this week's talking points, and that is the end of part one. And in part two, we will be back with a brief summary of what went on at Hewish Park on Saturday. Liam's got another story from his encyclopedia of footballing stories, and there's some more stats in the Wonders of White. So we'll be back in part two. Hello and welcome back to part two of the VFTSL podcast. Just going to briefly talk about what happened on Saturday in the National League playoffs. Yeovil went up against Barnet. I've been talking about this for probably the past month, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. It ended 2-0 to Barnet, so yeah, shame. Shame there. I feel like first half, I thought Barnet was so slow at starting the game. I thought we should have capitalised a bit more in the first half. Maybe try to create a few, chances. But hopefully next season can be that season. But there's been a few very good performances this season, but there's been equally some very bad performances, and we've still ended up fourth in the league. So if we can just cut out some of those bad performances and turn them into good, I think we might stand a chance. But very hard league to get out of once you're stuck in there.
Consistency is massively important for that league. I remember when a couple of years ago when Cheltenham were in there. Obviously, they're my second team. I do try and follow them as much as I can. But if you can put a run together where you go undefeated for 10, 15 games, you're in with a chance. But if you can't put 5 or 6 games and then you lose and draw, you're always going to end up in that playoffs, and it's just a lottery. Well, there's so many teams in that. I think it's stupid to have a playoff system like that, personally. But
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Hopefully,
fingers crossed for next year.
Yeah, and keep some of the players as well. I think it's key that he tries to keep the same squad together, because they're a half decent squad and probably one of the best squads in the league. So it's a new era, starting next season. Obviously, new owners. They get to do some business over the summer or the 3 weeks that they're going to have off, and maybe able to bring a couple of players in. Hopefully sign a few players on loan like they did this season. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully next year they can go up. So then, Liam, you've got a story. What is it this week?
So after the success of last week's story, which was based around animals, albeit pork, a player being bought for pork to be specific, I thought I'd keep the animal theme going. So this week's story is all about a dog called Bryn. So this dog, Bryn, has gone down in folklore with Torquay United fans as probably the only animal ever credited with saving a team from relegation. So you got to picture the scene. We're in 1987. It's the last day of the season. Torquay are facing relegation from the Football League altogether. With Torquay trailing 2-1 to Crewe Alexandra, in the final few minutes, police dog Bryn, who was patrolling the sideline with his handler, bit Torquay's Jim McNichol's thigh. It took 4 minutes to treat the wound, and in the 4th minute of injury time, Torquay striker Paul Dobson grabbed a dramatic equaliser, which saved his team from relegation. Bryn was that highly thought of by Torquay that after his death, he was stuffed and is still on display in the Torquay boardroom to this day.
Lovely. What?
The legendary dog at Torquay United.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
That is a classic.
Yeah, I've got a few questions. Well, how? I thought police dogs were trained only to. Do you think the handlers said, "Oh, bite him, go on, just give him a little nibble,
maybe,
get some more time."
Maybe back in the 80s, they carried drugs in their pocket or something like that. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what happened with the biting. It's quite hard to find.
Yeah.
4th division football in 1987, but yeah,
I
for
think he had
whatever reason,
a line of sausages or something like.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, Bren, I'll have to get a picture of Bren, put him online.
Yeah, we'll have to find it somewhere.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well, at least they stuffed him,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Legendary.
I wonder how that conversation went down. Oh, by the way, when the dog does, unfortunately pass away, could we keep him?
You just want to stick him in the room. So we forever got a reminder of how terrible the police are in Cornwall and Devon.
Oh dear. Well, that was a good one, actually.
Good. Glad you enjoyed that. More next week, of course. I will dig out some more stories.
Seeing Torquay getting relegated would have been pretty good, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I know you enjoy Torquay relegation. They've had a few over the last few years.
Well, yeah. Cool. All right, we'll move on to the Wonders of White for this week. So no player has scored more goals in all competitions for Frank Lampard in his managerial career than Mason Mount. He has 18 in total. Tottenham only had 29.5% possession in the game against Leicester, which is their lowest since 2012 when they played Manchester United. And they were at home as well.
That is classic
at home,
Mourinho.
yeah. And in fact, they've only ever at home before had a lower possession rate. That was 26% in 2002. Southampton, this one's actually quite surprised me. So Southampton have now picked up 31 points on the road this season, and that can only be bettered by Liverpool, who are 41.
Wow, yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah.
That's good. So Southampton have been really good this year. They have surprised me. I had them as relegation favourites at the start of the season.
Rightly so,
after
Leicester.
Yeah, well, after that one, I thought I was a genius.
Yeah. I've gone with another one from La Liga this year, another record this time. Real Madrid have conceded 0 goals from outside the box in a La Liga season, which could be a record because up until records started published online, which was 2003, 2004, it's never happened. So it could have happened before that. No one will ever know. But yeah, they've got a whole season without conceding a goal. And just to give you a rundown, Courtois saved 24 shots from outside the box this season.
So he's been a big help. I just think people are scared of Ramos, though. Personally, I wouldn't like to score against him.
Easy.
I mean, look, he would just go. I wouldn't like to make him angry. Put it that way.
I really do like Ramos, and I'd love for him to play in the Premier League.
He's a love-hate.
Yeah, he's Marmite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Nice. I enjoyed those.
Right, your teaser.
Yes.
I'm gonna mess this up so bad. Is this?
So 5 players in order of Premier League assists. So you've got
So what I've
Bergkamp,
tried to do is I've
Fabregas,
tried
Giggs,
to
Lampard,
guess
Rooney.
how many years they played in the Premier League, and I'm just gonna go off by. So obviously, out of the 5, I would say Giggs has probably played in the most Premier League. But I really doubt that he assisted that many more than Lampard or less than Lampard. Oh, fiddlesticks.
Just to give you a bit of context, I'll give you. So they are the top 5.
Yeah.
So those 5 are the top 5 assisters in the Premier League. So 6th at the moment is David Silva with 93 assists.
Okay. Right.
So they've all got above that amount. I don't know whether that will help, but there you go. Obviously, the top 5 aren't playing in the Premier League anymore.
Then that really baffles me about Bergkamp because I have no idea how he's got that many. Okay, right. I just have to guess this. Right, I'll go with. I'll go with Lampard, number 1.
Right.
Go with Lampard, number 1, or do I go with? Okay, so I'm going to go Lampard, Rooney, Giggs. Hang on, no, Lampard, Rooney, Fabregas, Giggs, and Bergkamp.
Well, you got one right.
God.
Bergkamp was bottom.
He was bottom, yeah. So I thought, yeah, I thought he was bottom.
So going from the bottom,
so I went Lampard, Rooney, Fabregas, and Giggs.
You've literally got them in reverse order.
That's Fabregas.
So it's Giggs is number 1 with 162.
Why didn't I just go with him? I was just thought for some reason I thought he'd probably assisted less, even though he's played probably 100 games more than anyone else. But
So he was top with 162, so he's quite a way in front of Cesc Fabregas, who is 2nd.
Yeah.
Which I found that quite surprising. If I'd been given those players, but he's got 111. So yeah, there's a big difference between 162 and 111. What's that? 51. So yeah, big difference between first and second. Then you've got Wayne Rooney, who's on 103. Then you got Frank Lampard on 102, so quite close. And then Dennis Bergkamp at the bottom with 94. So 1 out of 5 this week, but it was a tough one. I just wanted to test your knowledge because I personally would have thought that Lampard would have been second out of all those. I probably would have gone for second, but then again, he scored. All right, Rooney scored a lot of goals, but he was a striker. But Lampard scored a lot more goals than those other 3.
He's our record goal scorer, Lampard.
Yeah, it's not bad going for him. But if you wanted to know the top 10, I'll round it up for you. So David Silva, as I mentioned, in 6th. So Steven Gerrard is in 7th with 92 assists. So Silva's only just overtaken him. And then one that was a complete surprise for me, at number 8 in the all-time assists in the Premier League is James Milner with 84 assists, which is pretty impressive for someone who's meant to be very boring. Then we've got David Beckham at number 9 with 80 assists, and then Teddy Sheringham at number 10 with 76, just coming in ahead of Thierry Henry. So, yeah, interesting to look at that because there's a few players in there that I just wouldn't have.
Well, Bergkamp, I was just surprised Bergkamp was in there, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't like prolific as a goal scorer really for Arsenal, was he? He never got 20, 25 goals a year, but I think he was so important for Henry. I don't think Henry would have been as good as he was.
He's more of a centre forward, wasn't he, I guess, than a...
Yeah. But I just thought that was an interesting list this week. So
very good.
A few other names in there. Gareth Barry is 15th, but I think that's just down to the number of games he's played in the Premier League. Nobby Solano is at 19th. which I thought was as
Yeah,
blast from the past.
because he did play quite a few games, didn't he, for Newcastle, and then for
Yeah,
play for
and
you
then
as
for
well, didn't
us.
he? Yeah.
Yeah, he was good for us. He was only with us for a couple of years. And then Ashley Young's around there, Darren Anderson's around there. So
Patrick Berger on
quite
the
good
list.
Patrick Berger, I'll see if I can find him. He's definitely not in the top 20. Let me go. I'm gonna have to go to the next page. If he's not in this page, I'm not going to find him. Steve Malbronk at number 26 there. Wouldn't have thought that. Kevin Davis is up there as well. No, he's not in the top 40. So I don't know where he is.
What a letdown, eh?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, you got me this week.
Yeah. I'll make it a bit easier for you next week. You can get some points back.
Yep. So next week's going to be our last in the series.
Yes, last of the season. It's gone on a bit longer than we thought.
Yeah. It's weird because we've it's gone on for probably about 2 months more than what it normally would, but obviously less episodes this series. So,
yeah,
it's been a series full of change, but yeah. So next week will be the last one for probably about 3-4 weeks, I think. I forget when they're coming back to play football, but we'll clarify next week.
we'll be ready. We'll be ready.
Yeah. Anything else, Liam?
No, nothing from me.
Cool. Well, we will speak to you next week.